Good.
So were you a fan of the game, and what did you bring to the role that from the game itself?
You know, I wasn't really all that familiar with the game before I got this role, but I definitely played all 4 installments of the game quite a bit. Watched a ton of gameplay, but I mostly focused on Dead Rising 2 off the record because that was the source material that Tomas Harlan and Tim Carter, our producers, and Tim also wrote the script. That was the game that they drew from the most, and it also included Frank West, which is a big part of the story.
Are you expert now on electric chainsaw? And,
I don't know about an expert, but you know, I mean, wielding a sledge saw is definitely a lot easier in the game.
If you had to choose one of the weapons used in the film, what would be your favorite choice of weapon?
I mean, well, obviously the sledge saw is sort of the iconic featured weapon in Watchtower. But there's so many hilarious, awesome, badass weapons in the game. The knife gloves, the knife boxing gloves, are pretty fun to play with in the game. Pretty effective, and they score you a ton of points.
I want to ask you about the dynamics between you and Megan. I mean, I was watching the movie. I was like, okay, is this going to be turning into a love interest or just like sibling kind of relationship? I mean, what do you see as it?
You know what was cool about it? One, I loved working with Megan. She was great, and I thought we had a nice rapport on set, and I thought we had good chemistry. But I think it was important to really establish the characters and make the movie about survival for the first installment, and then if there is a love story that's going to develop, it could develop in a sequel or possibly a series. You know, because I mean, when it's life and death, and you're under the gun, so to speak. You know, I mean, you're running out of time, and the government's about to bomb the quarantine zone, and you got to get out of there. I don't know if you're necessarily thinking about hooking up. So.
What do you feel? Are you excited by the prospect that this is another avenue for actors such as yourself to get into, because this is almost an entirely undiscovered country, this type of genre, you know, the network itself?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, this streaming, I mean, this is the future, you know, and I feel lucky to have gotten together with, you know, a great company like Crackle at the right time.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people from 14 to 35, you know, I mean, the majority of them are watching their television over the top. They're streaming their television.
Yeah.
They're not watching it in the traditional ways anymore. So, you know, you got to adapt. You got to change with the times, you know, just like newspapers and magazines are going under and they're developing, you know, their online presence more. I mean, I think that the film and television industry has to adapt as well, you know, and actors have to adapt, you know. I mean, if they want to stay busy and keep working, you know. But the cool thing about being a part of this project with Crackle and also with Legendary is that this was not like some experimental digital production, you know. This is a pretty high-end production, you know, with a very decent budget. But I mean, I think the finished product far exceeded even the budget that we had. You know, and to be in business with Sony and also with Legendary is nothing to scoff at. So
that's true.
You get to take part in a lot of really cool action sequences. Did you get to do a lot of your own stunts, and did you have a favorite stunt to do?
Yeah, I did. You know, almost all my own stunts actually. You know, my favorite was probably, we have a oneer in the movie, which is, you know, one continuous take without any cuts or edits. When I come out of the pawn shop and I take on the zombie horde, right up until I shut the gate and block out all the zombies, and that was over a 5-minute long take. That was had very detailed choreography, had a lot of special effects. I was completely rigged up. You know, I had a golf bag on my back with a golf club and a bat in it. I had the sledge saw that had triggers on it because it shot out blood, and I had tubes up my sleeve that connected into the golf bag that had the blood in it, and also had a motor. So when I squeezed the sledge saw, blood came out of it. So basically, I had to wield this sledge saw, which the sledgehammer was made out of styrofoam. and the saw half of the weapon was an actual skill saw. So as you can imagine, the balance of that was terrible. So I mean, I said this in my last set of roundtables, but it was impossible to wield. A heck of a lot easier to wield in the game than in real life. So then I had to all in this this one take, I had to disconnect these hoses and drop the saw. When that stops working, I have to reach back and pull the bat out. I had to ditch the bag. I pulled the severed zombie arm. I mean, there was a lot going on. And we did that over a 5-minute long take 17 times.
Oh my goodness.
And at the end of every take, I was literally gasping for breath and dumping sweat. So the cool thing about it was it brought a lot of intensity and a lot of authenticity to the film. And I really felt like it brought the game to life. I mean, it really felt like what the game would feel like if it was real. It's like it's about survival. So.
What would you do in a real life zombie apocalypse?
I mean, I have a wealth of knowledge to draw from. I feel like I can handle it now.
Do you work with martial arts trainers and guys like that?
Yeah, I do actually. I do mixed martial arts. I also box. I'm kind of a fitness junkie.
You are prepared then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a part of kind of my fitness regimen, and it's something I enjoy. So hopefully, more action movies are in my future.
How much trust did you give to director Zach to handle this such adaptation? Because you have worked with a lot of filmmakers before.
I have worked with a lot of different directors. You know what? I had supreme confidence in Zach from the very beginning because he had a great knowledge of the game, and he had a very clear perspective on what he wanted to accomplish and what he wanted day in and day out from his crew and from his actors. And, I mean, from an actor's perspective, you couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, you just want a director who's supportive and who communicates well and is clear about what he wants. And I mean, that was Zach all the way. I mean, I think the proof's in the pudding. The finished product speaks for itself.
Have you heard from any fans of the actual video game that's reached out to you as far as your role with it?
Completely. I mean, obviously, it's like, in the world we live in, it's kind of like, you get instant feedback via social media, and everything's been positive. I mean, seriously, 99% of everything I've gotten on social media has been positive, saying that this is the best video game adaptation yet. And I think that's great because I mean that's what we all set out to do. I mean our mission was very focused and very singular, and I think we accomplished it.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah.